Miss Vaughn, the 6-year period is almost up. The life-saving drug you promised me, is it time you gave it to me? Luna Hayes asked softly, her fingers tracing the creases on the calendar. A cold laugh came from the other end of the line. The contract expires in 15 days. The medicine will be delivered to you, naturally. However, I've heard some rumors that old Mr. Blackwood drew up a marriage contract for you and Ethan before he died. I'm warning you, don't get any funny ideas about letting this act become real. Once the time is up, you take that medicine and get the hell out of my sight. Don't you ever appear in front of Ethan Blackwood again. Scarlett Vaughn's tone was harsh, but Luna felt no anger. She answered with a calm okay and hung up. Then, she picked up a pen and drew a heavy X on the calendar. The moment the pen touched the paper, tears fell uncontrollably. Luna slowly closed her eyes. 6 years. It was finally coming to an end. For the past 6 years, everyone had laughed at Luna Hayes, calling her Ethan Blackwood's lapdog, a woman so obsessed she'd do anything for him. What they didn't know was that all these years, the only person on her mind was her husband, Leo Foster, who lay in a hospital bed. 6 years ago, they were on their honeymoon when an earthquake struck. In the instant the building collapsed, Leo had shielded Luna with his own body without a moment's hesitation. When the rescue team found them, Luna was unharmed, but Leo had been struck in the head and was in a deep coma. The doctors said the only effective medicine was controlled by the Vaughn family in the capital. Only with their approval would Leo have a chance to wake up. After enduring countless hardships, Luna finally made her way to the Vaughn estate. She knelt at their gate for 3 whole days before Scarlett Vaughn agreed to see her. Scarlett agreed to Luna's request, but presented her with a nearly impossible condition. She had to act as Ethan Blackwood's obsessive admirer for 6 years. The Blackwood family in the capital was extremely powerful and well-connected, the head of the city's elite. But Ethan Blackwood was just an overlooked, illegitimate son of the family. Scarlett, thinking he was handsome and treating it as a game, had become his first love. Ethan, who had never known love or warmth, fell for her completely during their time together. He saw Scarlett as his salvation, placing her on a pedestal and worshipping her. He fell for her devoutly, humbly, and hopelessly. But Scarlett quickly grew tired of the game. She had already found a new target, a man from a family of equal standing, and was eager to get rid of the unpresentable Ethan. Yet, she didn't dare offend the Blackwood family directly. Just as she was wondering what to do, Luna appeared. Amid her anxiety, she heard Scarlett's disdainful voice. With a lapdog attracting his attention, he won't have time to chase after me. But a word of warning. Ethan Blackwood is no fool. You have to play your part perfectly, without a single flaw. Thinking of Leo in his hospital bed, Luna agreed without a second thought, biting her fingertip and signing the contract in blood on the spot. To Scarlett, the contract was merely a whim, a passing fancy of a wealthy heiress. To Luna, it was the only hope of saving the man she loved. Someone who played games with love and toyed with emotions would never understand the profound bond between her and Leo. On the day Scarlett left the country, Luna approached Ethan with the grim determination of a warrior cutting off their own limb. She abandoned her pride and cast aside her principles. She became the self-degrading lapdog everyone whispered about, loving Ethan Blackwood with reckless abandon. 6 years ago, when Ethan was being bullied and ridiculed by the other wealthy heirs, it was Luna who rushed out to shield him, kneeling and bowing her head to them. 4 years ago, when old Mr. Blackwood was gravely ill, it was Luna who took Ethan's place, tending to the old man's every need, day and night, without ever leaving his side. 1 year ago, when Ethan was fighting for the position of head of the family, it was Luna who took a blade meant for him. A 4-inch scar remains on her lower abdomen. To this day, tears streamed down her face. In that moment, Luna herself didn't know what she was crying for. She remembered when she first came to Ethan's side, she had held a sliver of hope. A man with someone to love, how bad could he really be? But Ethan's actions repeatedly shattered her limits. He had smashed a glass over her head, leaving her bleeding, just because she had accidentally used a cup meant for Scarlett. He had left her stranded alone on a street corner in a torrential downpour on Scarlett's birthday. He had locked her outside in the freezing, sub-zero cold to reflect when she was running a high fever. She came to understand completely. Her devotion would earn her no kindness, no reward. All she received was endless humiliation and ridicule. The countless wounds had turned her heart from pain to numb. Luna looked out the window at the bright moonlight, her vision blurred by tears. This should have been a happy occasion, but the tears just wouldn't stop. The bitterness of the past 6 years had seeped into her very being. Only her beating heart reminded her she was still alive. But now, the contract was almost up. All the pain was about to end. She just had to get through these last 15 days, and she would be free. She could save Leo. Endure it, just endure it. Luna took a deep breath and wiped her tears away. The moment she looked up again, the sadness on her face was gone. Her heart gradually grew calm. She was about to call the hospital when she heard arguing from the garden below. Looking down, she saw Ethan surrounded by a group of men in black. Luna immediately composed herself, and as if nothing had happened, she turned and went downstairs, disappearing into the boundless darkness. As she stepped into the garden, one of the men yelled at her. "Hey, Lapdog, get over here and bow to the boss 100 times, or he's going to call off your engagement." Luna's heart skipped a beat. Years ago, old Mr. Blackwood had been moved by her apparent devotion, and on his deathbed, had arranged a marriage contract between them. In front of the entire Blackwood clan, he had acknowledged Luna as his granddaughter-in-law and ordered Ethan never to break the engagement. The old man's good intentions had become another reason for Ethan to resent her. Furious that Luna had taken Scarlett's place, he had dragged out the engagement for 4 years, using every means possible to force Luna to call it off herself. But for the sake of the 6-year agreement, she had endured all the torment. This time, the long, numb Luna looked at Ethan calmly. "Is this what you want?" Ethan's expression was indifferent. He didn't even spare her a glance. A slight, deliberate tap of his finger was his silent confirmation. A pang of pain shot through Luna's heart, and what little pride she had left made her want to refuse. But she quickly came to her senses. She had been through far worse. What was this final humiliation in comparison? She hesitated for only a second before sinking to her knees without a second thought. The gravel in the garden was sharp, but Luna seemed not to feel it as she bowed her head heavily to the ground. 1, 2, 3, before long, specks of blood began to seep from her forehead. The entourage roared with laughter. "See, boss, I told you this wouldn't work. There's no line this bootlicker won't cross to marry you. I say, she claims to love you to death, right? Then let her prove it with her life. Last time was an accident. It doesn't count. This time, let's see if she's really willing to die for you." A fruit knife was thrown at Luna's feet. She slowly looked up, her gaze calm, without a ripple of emotion. Her life wasn't worth much. If it weren't for that one person, she would have died 6 years ago. She had clung to life this long just for the chance to save him. And so, before anyone could react, Luna grabbed the fruit knife and plunged it toward her heart. With lightning-fast reflexes, Ethan kicked the knife away. Luna collapsed to the ground, a bleeding gash torn across her chest. She didn't cry. She showed no sign of hurt. Like a broken doll, she lay shattered in the darkness, devoid of any reaction. Only the steady flow of blood told everyone that this was no act. She was using her life to prove her love. Looking at the disheveled yet silent Luna, Ethan frowned slightly, his expression complex. "You want to marry me that badly?" Even he found the wound shocking to look at, but Luna wasn't angry. She just lifted her head and spoke with earnest, firm resolve. "If I can't be with the man I love, I would rather die." Her words felt like a boulder lodged in Ethan's chest. He couldn't explain the feeling, so he just looked away coldly. Just then, the man on the outer edge of the group held up his phone and laughed. "Boss, you have no idea how funny the lapdog looked bowing her head. I recorded a video. Miss V will definitely get a kick out of this." Boss has been so devoted to Miss V all these years. It's only a matter of time before she's moved by it. We'll be waiting to celebrate your wedding. At the mention of Scarlett's name, a trace of tenderness appeared in Ethan's icy eyes. The sight made Luna freeze. For a fleeting moment, she remembered how Leo used to look at her before the coma. Gentle, lingering, filled with immeasurable love. A wave of bitterness washed over her, so strong that she could no longer feel the pain from her wound. Years of anguish and longing made her involuntarily whisper the name that was always on her mind. "Leo, who did you just say?" Ethan's eyes narrowed. The tenderness vanished, his face instantly turning to ice. Luna hadn't expected that Ethan, lost in his thoughts of love, would even notice her. She explained in a panic, "No, I didn't say anything. You must have misheard." At that moment, someone suddenly shouted, "Boss!" Miss V sent back a smiley face. Ethan immediately lost all interest in anything else. He strode forward, snatched the phone, not even noticing he'd stepped on Luna's hand. He stared at the simple message, the love in his eyes nearly overflowing. The people around him chimed in with flattery. "Boss, don't waste your time on this bootlicker. Miss V is coming back soon. Let's plan a welcome party for her. It has to be perfect to show her how much you care." "You think he needs you to tell him that?" The boss already knows Miss V loves the ocean, so he's reserved a private stretch of coastline for her. He even bought a $10 million necklace as a welcome gift. He's just busy getting rid of this dead weight so he can welcome Miss V properly. The group left, laughing and talking amongst themselves. Luna, still lying on the ground, slowly pushed herself up. She looked in the direction Ethan had disappeared, her gaze heavy. No wonder Ethan was acting so strangely today. Scarlett was coming back. They all knew how desperately she loved Ethan, and they were afraid she would use the marriage contract to take Scarlett's place. So they were eager to remove her, the obstacle, but they didn't need to go to all this trouble. The moment the contract was up and she had the medicine, Luna would disappear without a trace. The marriage contract, Ethan Blackwood, she couldn't care less about any of it. The moonlight was hazy, casting a long, slender shadow of her gaunt figure. In the silent garden, she looked utterly desolate. Luna rubbed her swollen knees and limped back to her room. The household staff were shocked to see her covered in blood and worriedly offered to call the family doctor. She calmly shook her head, as considerate and understanding as always. "It's late. Let's not trouble everyone." With that, she took out the first aid kit and expertly treated her own wounds. As she pulled the fabric away from the dried blood, tears suddenly fell uncontrollably. With no one around, the bone-deep pain made her want to break down and sob. But the endless troubles had already worn her to the point of exhaustion. Luna had no time to wallow in sorrow. After wrapping the bandage, she glanced at the alarm clock, pretended not to care as she wiped the tears from her eyes, and fell into a deep, exhausted sleep. At 6 in the morning, the alarm clock woke Luna on schedule. Every wound on her body ached. She just wanted to sleep and never wake up, but she still forced herself out of bed to make breakfast for Ethan. At 8, Luna placed the last item, a cup of hand-ground coffee, on the dining table and waited quietly for an Ethan who would not be coming back. At 9, just as she was about to clear everything away, the door opened. Ethan glanced at Luna and, for the first time ever, sat down and picked up the cup of coffee. In 6 years, this was the first time he had ever sat down to eat at the same table as her. But Luna didn't show the flattered expression he expected. She simply stood up and said politely, "The food has gotten a little cold. I'll go heat it up." "No need." Ethan belatedly put the cup down. The rich aroma of the coffee lingered in his mouth and on his mind. Luna's cooking was flawless, but her attitude made him uncomfortable. He cleared his throat and maintained his cold expression. "Scarlett is coming back. From now on, make a few extra dishes she likes every day and have them sent to my place." Faced with such an unreasonable demand, Luna still showed no reaction. It was just one more person to feed. No matter how much trouble it was, she only had to do it for a few more days. There was no need for pointless arguments that would only cause more trouble. She nodded obediently and asked, as if it were a routine matter, "Is there anything you'd like to eat?" Ethan was taken aback. He was used to being aloof. For so many years, no one had ever asked him what he liked, what he wanted to eat. The simple question left him momentarily speechless. He frowned at Luna, a memory surfacing. One year, to spend New Year's Eve with Scarlett, he had forgotten Luna on a mountain, leaving her to walk for 5 hours to get back. But the first thing she said when she saw him wasn't blame or complaint. Rubbing her frozen fingers, she had asked with genuine sincerity, "It's so late. Are you hungry? Should I make you a bowl of noodles?" At this moment, Ethan suddenly wanted to know what those noodles he had rejected time and time again actually tasted like. As if possessed, he said, "Make me a bowl of noodles." Luna was a bit bewildered, but she was long accustomed to Ethan's erratic behavior. Without a word, she went straight into the kitchen. Just as she brought the noodles out, one of his entourage rushed in. "Boss, what are you still doing here? Miss V's flight was changed. She's about to land." "What?" Ethan shot up from his chair, hastily grabbing his coat and leaving. The bowl of noodles on the table was knocked over, shattering on the floor along with the porcelain. Luna pursed her lips, her face expressionless as she cleaned up the mess. She knew it would end like this. How could a man as arrogant as Ethan ever cherish a simple bowl of noodles? She expertly knelt, carefully wrapping the broken porcelain pieces. The servant's whispers continuously reached her ears. A kind person like Miss Hayes, it's just too pitiful. Now that Miss Vaughn is back, I'm afraid even old Mr. Blackwood's won't matter. It's pathetic for a woman to live like this. If I were her, I'd have just ended it all long ago. Keep your voice down, you'll upset Miss Hayes if she hears you. Her hand trembled, and a shard of porcelain grazed her finger. Staring at the speck of blood on her fingertip, Luna didn't feel the heart-wrenching sorrow they spoke of. She just felt tired, so tired she just wanted a long, deep sleep. After she finished cleaning, a heavy rain began to fall outside. The damp chill made the wound on her abdomen ache faintly. She curled up on the sofa, silently hoping. In these final days, she hoped Ethan would spend more time with Scarlett, just to give her a chance to breathe. Just as she was about to fall asleep, a message came from Ethan. The Summit Club, VIP room. Bring me 10 boxes of condoms within 20 minutes. Looking at the relentless rain outside, Luna's face filled with weary resignation. She sighed softly, one hand on her abdomen, the other holding an umbrella as she walked out into the downpour. The mountain road was muddy, and Luna struggled through immense difficulty to finally reach the Summit Club. Naturally prone to feeling cold, she was shivering uncontrollably, but she gritted her teeth and handed the items to Ethan. To her surprise, Ethan's face darkened, and he threw the 10 boxes of condoms straight at her face. Who told you to come? What's the meaning of this? Is this a provocation, or are you trying to force my hand? The sharp corners of the boxes scraped against the wound on Luna's forehead. The chilling cold and the overlapping injuries made her sway on her feet. She looked up, dazed and too weak to say more. She simply waited, resigned to whatever torment Ethan would inflict next. Rainwater trickled down from the gash on her forehead, tinged with red. Ethan's throat tightened. The torrent of angry words he had prepared suddenly caught in his throat. He lowered his gaze and was stunned to see a long trail of blood on the ground. To bring him these things, Luna had actually run through the heavy rain. The thought that she might have been barefoot flashed through his mind. Ethan's heart trembled. His lips moved as if to say something, but suddenly Scarlett's giggles echoed from nearby. Sorry about that, my dear Luna. It was me who used Ethan's phone to text you. The rain is so heavy all of a sudden, we can't have the party on the yacht. I was getting bored, so I had to find some fun. You're not mad, are you? Ethan paused, then leaned back in his chair. The words he was about to say dissipated into the air, along with the smoke from his cigarette. A wave of laughter rippled through the room. Why would the lapdog be mad? If the boss says jump, she'd run through a hail of knives for him. Exactly this kind of pathetic act could only fool someone as pure as Miss V. Miss V is just too kind. Such a beautiful and kind woman. No wonder Ethan has been obsessed with her for so many years. Kind and pure? Luna, not yet fully coherent, felt a sarcastic smile touch her lips. She truly hoped they would never find out the truth. That way, they could keep laughing so happily. She silently took a few steps back, intending to leave, but Scarlett suddenly insisted on pulling her along to the restroom. Luna couldn't refuse. The moment they reached the sinks, a sharp slap landed on her face. Luna Hayes, who gave you the nerve to try and seduce Ethan right in front of me? Don't think that just because you took my place by his side for 6 years, you can replace me. So, what if you have old Mr. Blackwood's will? Do you really think you're Ethan Blackwood's fiancé? A person like you, I could crush with a flick of my finger. Her exhausted body and ringing head filled Luna with a wave of sadness. She didn't know what she had done wrong. Ever since she had come to Ethan's side, everyone seemed to hate her to the bone. But long since numb, she didn't argue. She just stared at the clock on the wall and said in a voice only the two of them could hear, "When the contract is up, I will leave." That's more like it. Scarlett pulled out a tissue to wipe her hands. I used to look down on a bastard, but now that Ethan is the head of the Blackwood family, things are different. I advise you not to get any foolish ideas. There are some things you'd better take to your grave. Scarlett tossed the used tissue at Luna's face and walked away, the sharp clicks of her high heels echoing. Watching Scarlett's retreating back, Luna let out a silent, humorless laugh. What a pure and flawless one that got away. And what a devoted and unchanging Ethan Blackwood. Truly a match made in heaven. The sting on her cheek brought Luna back to her senses. She was about to tend to the wound, but her body gave out and she fainted. When she woke up, the first thing she saw was Ethan standing by her bed. He stared at the handprint on Luna's face, his expression unreadable. "Why didn't you say you weren't feeling well?" Luna pressed her lips together. Who would care how she felt? Any vulnerability she showed would only become a weapon for others to use against her. Unnerved by her lack of response, Ethan looked at her deeply. After a short silence, he added, "Forget it. Just rest and get better. Scarlett was just joking. Don't take it to heart." It was rare for Ethan to show Luna any kindness. He waited for her response, expecting her to be overjoyed, but she remained placid, silent for a long time. Ethan disliked the awkward atmosphere in the room. He disliked Luna's cold reaction even more. Not knowing what else to say, he stood for a moment longer before turning to leave. After Ethan left, a smile of relief spread across Luna's face. Scarlett's little stunt had caused her to sleep for a full day, and it brought her one day closer to the end of the contract. How wonderful. What Scarlett had said in the restroom left Luna feeling uneasy. As soon as she was discharged from the hospital, she rushed back to the Blackwood estate, dug out the contract from the bottom of a box, and carefully read every clause. Only after confirming that Scarlett couldn't break the contract did she finally feel at ease. Just as she was about to put the contract back, Ethan suddenly walked in. "They told me you were discharged." Luna jumped, frantically trying to stuff the contract back under everything in the box. As sharp as he was, Ethan instantly caught the strange movement. A terrible feeling suddenly washed over him, and he strode forward, grabbing Luna's wrist. "What are you holding? Is that the will grandfather left you?" "No, it's not." The contract was about to expire. Luna couldn't let Ethan discover the truth now, not when years of effort were about to pay off. Even as her wrist throbbed with a pain so intense it felt like it would break, she clenched her jaw, refusing to let go. Ethan's brow furrowed tighter. This was the first time in 6 years Luna had ever resisted him. This loss of control made him deeply uneasy. Enraged, Ethan suddenly yanked with all his might. "Luna, let go." His strength was immense. Luna's slender body was thrown aside, crashing hard against the cabinet in front of her. The contract in her hand, along with other papers from the box, was torn from her grasp. They fluttered to the ground like autumn leaves. Seeing the contract land right at Ethan's feet, her heart leaped into her throat. Ignoring the pain, she lunged forward, trying to stop him. Still furious, Ethan pushed her away again. He casually picked up a sheet of paper, ready to unleash his anger, but then he froze. This wasn't a will. It was a Buddhist sutra, handwritten in blood in disbelief. Ethan looked around. Sheet after sheet, thousands of them, all covered the floor. Every single one was a sutra Luna had copied over the years with her own blood as a prayer for blessings. The shades of blood varied, some dark, some faded, but every page was filled with elegant, neat script. Every character was filled with a deep, boundless love. Ethan's hand began to tremble slightly. This silent, patient, and overwhelming love enveloped him completely. He had never believed in gods or spirits. But at this moment, he didn't dare profane this profound devotion. After a long pause, Ethan slowly turned to look at the pale-faced Luna, his eyes shimmering. "Did it hurt? Did it hurt to draw blood to copy the sutras? Did it hurt when you took a knife for me, when you were injured because of me?" The moment the words left his mouth, Ethan felt a twinge of regret, but deep down, a part of him desperately wanted to know the answer. Seeing Ethan's reaction, Luna knew he had misunderstood. She slowly relaxed, unwilling to answer. These sutras, she had written them all for Leo. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, on the verge of breaking, she would find a quiet corner and write down her blessings and longing for Leo in her own blood. The number of copied sutras here was a testament to how many times she had been wronged and hurt. And the person who had caused her all that pain and suffering, what right did he have to ask her if it hurt? After a brief silence, Luna glanced at the calendar. She quickly slipped back into her role. She smiled at Ethan and said softly, "I'm used to it. I just want the person I love to be healthy, happy, and safe." Her intense, searing gaze was so bright it made Ethan want to look away. He felt he should apologize to Luna, but his pride, so accustomed to his position of power, wouldn't let him. As he stood there at a loss, Scarlett's call came through. "Ethan, what about the yacht party we planned? Why aren't you here yet? You're the only one missing." Only then did Ethan remember his promise to Scarlett. He quickly agreed. Laughter came from the other end of the line, and Scarlett added, "For such an important occasion, remember to bring your fiancé along." Hearing this, Ethan instinctively started to retort. "She's not my fiancé." He stopped mid-sentence. He suddenly realized that he could no longer belittle Luna's love with a clear conscience. He paused, then looked at Luna. "You should come too." Luna didn't want to accept Ethan's charity, nor did she want to get caught up in their drama. But she knew she had no right to refuse. She simply lowered her head and said, "I'd like to tidy these things up first." For once, Ethan didn't refuse. He walked to the door and waited for her quietly. Luna finally relaxed completely, discreetly hiding the contract at the very bottom of the pile. If Ethan had only paid a little more attention, he would have found the contract beneath the sutras. He would have discovered that at the bottom of every single blood-written page was the name, Leo. But alas, a man like Ethan Blackwood, who so carelessly trampled on the genuine hearts of others, would never understand where Luna's true love lay. At the yacht party, Luna, dressed in thin clothes, shivered in the sea breeze. She knew Scarlett was up to no good and didn't want to cause trouble. She hid herself in a corner, trying her best to fade into the background, silently counting the days until her departure to comfort herself. Just as she was starting to relax, she suddenly heard Scarlett call out. Luna's heart sank. This was not good. Turning her head, she saw a group gathered on the deck. In a playful mood, Scarlett, ignoring everyone's objections, insisted on going for a swim. But the yacht had already sailed into deep waters where the waves were rough. A single moment of carelessness could be fatal, and no one dared let Scarlett take such a risk. Scarlett, however, was unfazed. "What's this? I've swum in much more dangerous waters abroad. Besides," she smiled and glanced at Luna. "Ethan, didn't you say you'd protect me with your life?" Ethan froze for a second. He had never denied his love for Scarlett, but he disliked this feeling of being manipulated. In the moment he hesitated, Scarlett had already changed into a swimsuit and jumped in. The second she hit the water, she regretted it. The sea was bone-chillingly cold this time of year, and the huge waves crashed like wild beasts. Within 5 minutes, her calf cramped up. All her earlier courage vanished. She screamed in a panic, "Help, Ethan! What are you doing just standing there? Come and save me!" Scarlett, Ethan had no time to think. Just as he was climbing over the railing to rescue her, a slender hand stopped him. On the glittering surface of the sea, he saw a glint in Luna's eyes. "It's too dangerous." "I'll go." Ethan's heart clenched. He remembered the doctor's words. "Your body?" Before he could finish, Luna had already leaped into the water. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of something happening to Scarlett. She was afraid of 6 years of suffering being for nothing. She was afraid that after struggling for so long in this sea of bitterness, she still wouldn't be able to save Leo. The churning waves crashed over Luna's small frame. She grabbed Scarlett and fought to swim back toward the yacht. Scarlett was on the verge of losing consciousness. Fear made her struggle wildly, pulling Luna down with her into the depths. After a few desperate struggles, Luna's wound tore open again, and a shocking patch of red bloomed on the surface of the sea. The sight horrified Ethan. Just as he was about to jump in himself, Luna finally managed to grab the edge of the deck. Her fingernails had split from the force, but the searing pain didn't make her flinch. A group of people scrambled to pull Scarlett aboard, completely ignoring Luna. Already exhausted, Luna had no energy to feel sorry for herself. She just watched Scarlett, the center of everyone's attention, and smiled through her tears. She had succeeded again. As long as Scarlett was alive, Leo had a chance. Her efforts had not been in vain. Everything she had done was worth it. The last ounce of strength that had been supporting Luna gave out. Her mind went blank, and her body went limp, starting to fall back into the sea. At the last second, Ethan, sensing something was wrong, grabbed Luna's hand and pulled her back. The icy touch sent a pang of pain through Ethan's entire heart. The reopened wound quickly stained his sleeve red. Ethan had never imagined that Luna would go to such lengths for him. He tried desperately to suppress the churning emotions inside him, but he couldn't control them. It was as if something unspoken had been quietly changing without him even realizing it. As he stood there in shocked silence, someone looked at him uneasily. "Boss, there's only one oxygen mask left. It'll take over 40 minutes for the yacht to get back to shore. Who should get it?" One was Ethan's fiancée in name, the other was the one that got away he had loved for years. No one dared to make the decision for him. In the past, Ethan would have chosen Scarlett without a moment's hesitation. But now, looking at Luna, who was in far worse condition and on the verge of death, he found himself unable to choose between them for the first time. "Ethan, I feel so sick." Scarlett's voice pulled Ethan back from his thoughts. He gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Give it to Scarlett." After saying it, he looked at Luna, a hint of guilt in his eyes. But she didn't cry or throw a fit. She wasn't hurt. She just looked at Scarlett calmly. Only when she saw Scarlett put on the oxygen mask and her vital signs stabilize did she close her eyes in peace. Thank God Scarlett was fine. Leo would be fine too. In her coma, Luna was trapped in a long nightmare. She fought to wake up, wanting to throw herself into Leo's arms for comfort as she always did. But when she opened her eyes, she was met with Ethan's inscrutable gaze. The light in Luna's eyes instantly dimmed, and all emotion drained from her face. She turned away without a word. A sharp pain pierced Ethan's heart. He couldn't explain Luna's strange look, nor could he explain the unspeakable ache in his own chest. After a long hesitation, he said slowly, "That night, thank you." Luna was stunned for a moment, thinking she had misheard. Then she quickly realized the thank you was for saving Scarlett. She couldn't help but marvel. The power of love truly was great. It could turn the cold and ruthless Ethan Blackwood into a humble and polite man. She didn't want to respond, but for the sake of the nearly finished contract, she forced a smile. "I'd do anything for you." That inexplicable feeling washed over him again. This time, Ethan was determined to say something more. Before he could speak, one of his entourage walked in. "Boss, have you sorted out the annulment yet? Miss V finally agreed to be your girlfriend. You can't miss this chance." For a moment, both Luna and Ethan were stunned. Luna, recovering first, hid the disdain in her eyes and gave a self-deprecating smile. How could Ethan ever change? He had just learned to put on an act for Scarlett. Ethan's feelings were even more complex. Years ago, he hadn't forced an annulment because his position wasn't secure. But now, his power was great enough that nothing could hold him back. He hadn't done it, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. That piece of paper was no longer a restraint, but a habit. He looked at Luna with a complicated expression, not knowing how to answer. He chose the coward's way out, escape. "We'll talk about it after Luna has recovered." He comforted himself with that thought. Until Luna was discharged from the hospital, Ethan didn't dare to see her again. But Luna continued to receive a steady stream of messages from people in Ethan's circle. "You damn lapdog, don't think you can win Ethan's sympathy by playing pitiful. The only person he loves is Scarlett. While you were in a coma, Ethan mobilized the entire city's resources for Miss V and stayed by her side all night. He didn't even look at you once. If you know what's good for you, you'll annul the engagement yourself. Don't make a fool of yourself." In addition to that, there were all sorts of vicious curses. Luna read them calmly, her heart completely untroubled. They laughed at her for being a lapdog. But what about Ethan Blackwood, who had chased after Scarlett for 6 years, only to be played like a fiddle? What did that make him? She gave a cold laugh, put her phone back in her pocket, and checked herself out of the hospital alone. Just as she reached the hospital entrance, she saw Ethan's car parked by the road. He was leaning against the door, smoking. Seeing Luna approach, he opened the car door with a blank expression. "Get in." Luna was momentarily stunned and was pulled into the car by Ethan before she could react. Just as she was bracing for an outburst, she heard him say, "Today is your birthday. As a thank you, I can grant you one wish." Luna was completely stunned. Ethan actually remembered her birthday. What new trick was this? Seeing Luna lower her eyes in thought, Ethan's heart pounded. He waited, expecting her to look up with those bright, shining eyes, just as she had for the past 6 years, and say with pure, unwavering conviction, "My wish, of course, is to marry you." Luna slowly came back to her senses. Ethan was probably doing this to get her to annul the engagement. Thinking that the contract only had 3 days left, she played along, continuing her act of being deeply in love with him. "Just Eat a bowl of longevity noodles with me." His hands tightened on the steering wheel, and Ethan's voice trembled slightly. "That's your wish, there's nothing else? Nothing else?" Luna turned to look out the window, a faint smile on her face. To her, nothing else mattered anymore. 3 more days, and her real wish was about to come true. With a heavy heart, Ethan drove back to the Blackwood estate with Luna. He frowned as he watched her expertly boil water and cook the noodles. Then, she brought out a fragrant and delicious-looking bowl. She portioned out most of the noodles and all of the meat into a bowl for Ethan, offering it with a sincere smile. "I wish you happiness. And I wish to see Leo soon," she added silently. The rising steam blurred Luna's face. He suddenly felt that the Luna before him had become a stranger. She was still smiling, but that smile seemed to have nothing to do with him. He wanted to get closer to see her more clearly, but was interrupted by the shrill ringing of his phone. "Ethan, I'm so scared. I can't stop thinking about the feeling of drowning. Can you come and stay with me?" Hearing this, Ethan immediately stood up. He walked halfway to the door, then turned back to look at Luna. The feeling of unease in his heart grew stronger, as if this time, if he left, he would never see her again. He said, as if to reassure himself, "I'll be back. I promise to be with you, and I will." Luna's smile widened as she nodded indifferently. She watched him leave and waited for time to pass. An hour later, Luna ate the now soggy noodles by herself. 2 hours later, Luna stood up, tore the marriage contract to shreds, and signed a share transfer agreement. 3 hours later, Luna clutched a photo of Leo and drifted off to sleep. Ethan never came back, but Scarlett's sycophantic followers were more than happy to report his every move. Today, Ethan flew Scarlett to a beach in his private jet to watch the sunrise. Tomorrow, Ethan lit up the sky with lanterns and bought out an entire jewelry store for Scarlett. The day after, Ethan set off thousands of fireworks, painting the entire city a brilliant red, just to propose to Scarlett. Luna couldn't have cared less. She stood calmly by the window, watching the fireworks explode in the night sky. The names Ethan and Scarlett blazed brightly, a garish light on her face. The clock struck midnight. She slowly drew the curtains, picked up her pen, and in one fluid motion, crossed off the final date. Then she hurried downstairs. Outside the door, Scarlett's assistant handed her a box, her face stern. "Miss Vaughn's instructions are to erase all traces of you. You are never to return. Don't worry." She would never, ever, ever return. Luna quickly checked the medicine, and a long-lost smile finally returned to her face. Her eyes were filled with relief and liberation. Overhead, the grand, lingering fireworks show was coming to an end. The names of Ethan and Scarlett had already faded with the dying embers. It was all over. She was free. Luna clutched the medicine tightly to her chest. Under the last fading sparks of the fireworks, she disappeared into the boundless night without a single look back. Even after the fireworks show ended, Scarlett was still not satisfied. She kept looking at the diamond ring on her hand, her expression sullen. "I think the quality of this gemstone isn't good enough. The wedding ring has to be at least a size bigger, and regular roses are so tacky. I want pink roses from the Mississippi River Rose Manor. Also, the steak today was terrible. I didn't like it. Get a new chef?" Ethan rubbed his throbbing temples. Since getting back together with Scarlett, he had wanted to give her the best of everything in the world. But no matter how good things were, she could always find fault. If the gift was too expensive, she complained he lacked creativity. If it was too simple, she sulked that he wasn't thoughtful. The slightest thing that didn't go her way would lead to tears and tantrums. The slightest hint of kindness he showed toward Luna would be met with threats of self-harm. For days on end, he was utterly exhausted. He looked at Scarlett and sighed silently. "It's late. I'll send someone to France tomorrow to hire a better chef. Let's just go home and rest for today." After dropping Scarlett off, Ethan, weary to his bones, headed home. The entire way, he found himself looking forward to seeing Luna. He had broken his promise to her again, but he knew Luna wouldn't blame him. So many years had passed, things had changed, and so much around him was different. The bullied illegitimate son had become the revered head of the Blackwood family. The once pure and flawless one that got away had turned into a spoiled, demanding heiress. The only thing that remained unchanged, it seemed, was Luna. No matter what happened, as long as Luna was by his side, he always felt an inexplicable sense of peace. But today, when he pushed open the heavy front door, he didn't see the person he was expecting. The dining table was empty. There was nothing. "Where's Luna?" Ethan frowned, a sudden worry creeping into his heart. Ever since old Mr. Blackwood had brought Luna into the home, she had personally taken care of his every meal. No matter how late he came back, whether he ate or not, Luna would wait for him day after day with a table of hot food. Even when Ethan had thrown scalding soup on her. Even when Luna herself was burning up with a fever of over 104 degrees. She always treated every meal with the utmost care. Today, looking at the empty table, Ethan had only one thought. Had her injuries relapsed? Was her body too weak to cook? As the thought grew, Ethan's heart began to pound. He started to feel afraid. Without even taking off his coat, he headed towards Luna's room. Just then a maid spoke up softly. "Sir, Miss Hayes went out around midnight. She's not home." "What?" Ethan stopped in his tracks. He looked up at the vast darkness outside the window. The moonlight was faint, the trees cast dancing shadows, and the silent night was dotted with only a few stars. Where would Luna go so late at night? Before she left, did she say anything? Did she do anything unusual? The sense of unease in his heart grew stronger. The one constant in his life, Luna, was starting to change. His fingers dug deep into his palm as he waited for the maid's reply. The maid thought for a moment. "Miss Hayes hasn't spoken to any of us for the past few days. She seemed indifferent to everything. But at night, she would just stare at the fireworks outside, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing. And then she just left. She didn't say where she was going." As she spoke, the maid suddenly remembered something. She ran to the trash can and pulled out the shredded marriage contract. Along with the share transfer agreement from the table, she handed them to Ethan. Seeing these two things was like a bolt of lightning striking Ethan. No one knew better than him how much that contract meant to Luna. And she had torn the bond between them with her own hands. Could it be that, in a state of utter despair, she had decided to take her own life? The possibility terrified Ethan, and his whole body began to tremble uncontrollably. He violently smashed a vase nearby and roared, "What are you all standing around for? A living person has disappeared, and you don't know to go look for her. Everyone, get out and search you must. You absolutely must bring Luna Hayes back safely." He couldn't accept that the woman who loved him, who was always there for him, could just leave his world like this. He couldn't lose Luna Hayes. It was a sleepless night. The city, which had just settled into silence, was once again thrown into a frenzy. Cars sped down the highways, searching every corner of the city. But they found nothing. A living, breathing person had vanished like a wisp of smoke, disappearing silently into the night. Not a trace, not a clue was left behind. Ethan's initial worry had turned into a complete breakdown. He raged in the Blackwood mansion, all his former calm and pride gone. "Mr. Blackwood, we did our best. We've searched all the nearby waters, checked all the surveillance footage, ticket records, vehicle movements. We found no information about Miss Hayes." "That's impossible. Where could she have gone? Where would she go?" Ethan racked his brain, thinking back over the past 6 years, but he couldn't recall anything useful. He had paid far too little attention to Luna. He didn't know where she came from, didn't know what places she liked to go. He had just taken everything she gave him for granted, too stingy to spend even a sliver of thought on her. And now, he was utterly lost. "I refuse to believe a person can just vanish into thin air. I want her back, dead or alive. If you can't find her, none of you will be spared." His subordinates exchanged nervous glances, then took their leave. They had never imagined Luna held such a significant place in Ethan's heart. If they couldn't find her, they knew their lives would be hell from now on. Meanwhile, Ethan, who had been trying to quit smoking for Scarlett, shakily pulled a cigarette from his pocket and lit it. His mind was a mess, his frustration boiling with no outlet. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Even when Scarlett left the country all those years ago, he hadn't reacted this strongly. Back then, he had just felt sad and hurt. But now, it was as if a piece of his heart had been hollowed out, leaving his entire being incomplete. He was anxious and terrified, standing on the balcony for the entire night. A worried maid brought him food, but the sight of it only made him feel worse. He wanted noodles. He wanted noodles made by Luna. For 6 years, that bowl of noodles had appeared before him countless times, but he had never known what it tasted like. Ethan waved his hand, turned away, and lit another cigarette. As dawn broke, one of his entourage rushed over. "Boss, we found a lead on the Lapt on Miss Hayes." Ethan snapped back to reality, noticing the ground on the balcony was littered with cigarette butts. He suppressed his emotions and spoke with forced calm. "She's back, isn't she? Good, as long as she's back, and don't bully her like you used to. Let her rest and recover properly." Ethan wasn't angry, nor did he place any blame. But the calmer he was, the more his subordinate's scalp tingled. Under immense pressure, he said tremblingly, "We didn't find her, sir. But someone saw her talking to Miss V's assistant that night, and then she left." Ethan's eyes widened, and he lunged forward, grabbing his subordinate by the collar. "Say that again? Other than that, we haven't found any other leads. And we didn't dare to disturb Miss V." Furious, Ethan kicked him. "What do you mean you didn't dare? Go and ask her right now." With Luna's submissive nature, there was no telling how Scarlett might be bullying her. How could her fragile body withstand it? A deep ache spread through Ethan's chest. As the subordinate was about to leave, he called him back. "I'll go with you." This time, Ethan was determined to stand on Luna's side. He ran a series of red lights, flooring the accelerator as he sped towards the Vaughn residence. His heart was a whirlwind of anxiety and panic. As he hesitated at Scarlett's door, he overheard her conversation with her assistant. "Is everything cleaned up? Are you sure that Luna Hayes will never come back?" "Rest assured, miss. She will never disturb you and Mr. Blackwood again." Scarlett kicked at one of the gifts Ethan had given her, her tone dripping with contempt. "I was just planning to play around with him at first. Who knew that Lapdog would actually become the head of the Blackwood family? If I'd known, I never would have gone abroad. It would have saved me the trouble of dealing with that nuisance, Luna. Luckily, that damn Lapdog is an idiot. I just have to throw a little tantrum and he's wrapped around my finger. But to be safe, we need to get married soon. Go find me some fake sleeping pills. I need to put on another little show to push him." Outside the door, Ethan's fists were clenched so tightly his knuckles were white. He bit his lip hard. The subordinate beside him was terrified, barely daring to breathe. For years, they had called Luna a lapdog, treating her with nothing but contempt. But wasn't Ethan Blackwood just Scarlett Vaughn's lapdog? Now that the knife was twisted in his own heart, Ethan finally knew how agonizing it felt. The pure, flawless one that got away, it was all a lie. The first love he had yearned for was nothing but a complete and utter fraud. Ethan's fists tightened, his entire body radiating a terrifying aura, as if he was about to unleash a storm of blood and vengeance. The subordinate's legs were trembling. He knew Ethan's methods all too well. Unlike other arrogant heirs, Ethan had clawed his way up from the bottom with his own ruthlessness. He had mellowed over the years, but his core nature hadn't changed. When a man like that was truly angered, the consequences were unimaginable. Just as the subordinate braced for the explosion, he heard Ethan let out a soft, weary sigh. "Let's go back." "Huh," Ethan said no more. The relentless blows and pain had left him numb. He turned and walked away alone. The rising sun cast its light on him, but he felt no warmth. Aimless and without purpose, he walked until he reached a deserted, secluded spot and finally stopped. He reached out his hand, as if trying to catch the sunlight filtering through the gaps. Then suddenly, he began to weep, silently. For all those years, he had treated Scarlett as his salvation, a beacon of light in his dim life. But he had ignored the one who was always by his side, the one who truly brought him warmth. Luna, how could the ethereal, distant moonlight ever compare to the brilliant, warm sun? What had he done all these years? Ethan slowly closed his eyes, tears streaming down his face. After a long time, he managed to pull himself out of his grief. After that brief loss of control, he was once again the all-powerful Ethan Blackwood. He raised his hand and dialed a number, his voice chillingly cold. "I don't care what methods you use, you will get Luna's whereabouts from Scarlett Vaughn. I want to see a safe and sound Luna Hayes. As for Scarlett, whether she lives or dies, I'll leave it to your discretion. And if the Vaughn family has any objections, tell them to come see me directly." While Scarlett was still dreaming of becoming the lady of the house, a group of black-clad bodyguards burst into her room, threw a hood over her head, and dragged her away. After a brutal interrogation, the contract was passed through several hands until it reached Ethan. Staring at the densely packed words on the contract, Ethan nearly went mad. Fake. It was all fake. The person who loved him, the person he loved, it was all fake. Scarlett had never loved him. Her initial approach was just a game, and her return was merely a calculated move. And Luna had never loved him either. Everything she did was just to get the Vaughn family's life-saving drug. Why? I don't believe it. Ethan, nearly crazed, tore the contract to shreds, unable to calm himself for a long time. But then his eyes were drawn to a single fragment. On it, written clearly, were the words, "Luna Hayes, married." Ethan was frantically searching for Luna. He had no idea that the person he was so desperately worried about was at that very moment keeping vigil by another man's bed. Luna hadn't closed her eyes. After a long and difficult journey back to her hometown, she had immediately handed the medicine to the doctors. Then, she had stayed by Leo's bedside, sleepless, wanting to be the first to see him when he woke up. The doctor, seeing how weak Luna was, grew concerned. "Miss Hayes, perhaps you should go and get some rest. If you keep this up, your body won't be able to take it." Luna stubbornly shook her head. She had endured 6 years. What was a little more time? But Leo didn't wake up as she had expected. Several days passed. Leo's eyes remained closed, with no sign of waking. Luna's initial hope began to turn into terror. Were her 6 years of suffering all just a cruel joke? Luna sat on a hospital bench, tears slowly rolling down her cheeks. After a moment of grief, she slowly lifted her head. The world was a big place. There had to be another way. As long as she didn't give up, Leo would wake up one day. She stood up and went to a nearby flower shop to buy a bouquet of gardenias, Leo's favorite. As she was about to head back to the hospital, she saw Ethan across the street. Luna thought she was seeing things. She rubbed her eyes, but by then, the man was already standing right in front of her. He grabbed her wrist, giving her no chance to speak, and tried to pull her away. "We're going home." The contract was over. Luna no longer had to swallow her pride and endure everything. She shook his hand off with a look of utter disgust. "Don't touch me, this is my home." Her home with Leo was just around the corner, down the alley. It was a warm, comfortable house, a nest of love she had carefully built with her beloved. The coldness in Luna's eyes was like 1,000 cuts to Ethan's heart. So this is what it felt like not to be loved. His hand trembled slightly. He unconsciously lowered his head and began to deceive himself. "Luna, stop messing around. Our engagement isn't officially broken. You're my fiancé. Of course you're coming back with me." The fact that Ethan had found her here meant he already knew the whole truth. Luna couldn't be bothered to pretend anymore. She let out a cold laugh. "Ethan Blackwood, are you delusional? When have you ever treated me like your fiancé?" For the past 6 years, Luna had been by Ethan's side as he rose from the depths to the pinnacle of success. She had cared for him without complaint. When he was drunk, it was Luna who cleaned up his mess and fed him sobering soup. When he was angry, it was Luna who bore the brunt of his rage, suffering his verbal and physical abuse. When he was sad, it was Luna who stayed by his side, comforting him with all her heart. For Ethan, Luna had taken a knife, nearly drowned, and escaped death by a hair's breadth. It was only by some miracle that she had survived. And Ethan? As he hurt her time and time again, trampling on her heart and using her for his own amusement, did he ever once think that Luna was his fiancée? His savior? The person who treated him better than anyone else in the world? Riddled with guilt, Ethan couldn't answer her question. He had done too much, made too many mistakes over the years. But he had come prepared and had no intention of letting her go so easily. Ethan took a few steps closer, blocking her path of escape. "I'll make it up to you." With the Blackwood family's wealth and his own status, he could give Luna anything she wanted. He was confident and determined to make her truly fall in love with him. Blackwood bodyguards emerged from the surroundings, encircling Luna. Ethan slowly reached out his hand to her, his gaze gentle, his voice firm. "Be good, Luna. Be a good girl and come home with me. I'll forgive you for deceiving me. I'll solve any problems that stand in our way. We'll have a good life together from now on." "I don't need your forgiveness, and I don't want to be with you." Luna kept backing away, but there was nowhere to run. She never wanted to return to that hellish cage. 6 years of torment had completely drained her. However, Ethan, who had gone to such great lengths to find her, was not about to give up. He grabbed her wrist, intending to drag her straight into the car. But the wrist was so fragile, so thin he could encircle it with his thumb and forefinger, that it made his heart clench. Ethan hesitated for a moment, then hardened his resolve, signaling for the bodyguards to open the car door, ready to take her by force. At that critical moment, a tall figure stepped in front of Luna, shielding her. The bright sunlight shone down from above his head, brilliant and dazzling. Luna's vision blurred. Before she could even get a clear look at the person before her, tears had already started to fall. 6 years. She was finally seeing the man she had longed for day and night. Her most fervent wish had finally come true. Her Leo was awake. Leo had just woken up and his body hadn't fully recovered, but his pale, gaunt face was filled with a profound love for Luna. Just as he had done during the earthquake 6 years ago, he stood protectively in front of her without a hint of retreat. He said, with earnest conviction, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Luna cried tears of joy. Forgetting everything else, she threw herself into Leo's arms. That look, so full of love, stabbed Ethan's heart like a knife. That kind of love should have been his. That kind of love was supposed to be his. Unable to control the rage in his heart, Ethan threw a punch, knocking Leo to the ground. "Leo!" Luna's heart ached so much she burst into tears. Leo had just woken up. How could his body withstand such a blow? Overwhelmed with worry, Luna threw herself at Ethan, pounding on him like a fierce little animal. "You're not allowed to hurt him, I won't let you." Luna's blows were weak. Compared to the real, life-threatening injuries of the past, they were nothing to Ethan. But this time, Ethan felt an unbearable pain. It started in his heart and spread to every corner of his body, leaving him without the strength to even lift a hand. His eyes trembled, his voice laced with agony. "You love him that much, so much that you'd risk your own life for him. So much that you could cast aside your dignity, force a smile, and stay by my side for 6 long years." Ethan still couldn't accept it. He always felt that, after all those years, there must have been some part of Luna's heart that was his. Otherwise, how could a person act so convincingly? But Luna's next words, spoken so lightly, shattered the armor Ethan had painstakingly built around himself. She said, "Ethan Blackwood, are you even worthy of my love?" Was he worthy? Did he deserve it? Luna was an orphan who grew up in the same orphanage as Leo. Though they lacked material wealth, the tenderness and companionship Leo gave her filled her inner world, making her a kind and gentle person. She never imagined someone like Ethan Blackwood could exist. When she first came to his side, Luna had felt a flicker of kinship with him. They were both without parents, both abandoned by their families. Luna tried to use her own love to reach him, but no matter how sincere or how hard she tried, all she ever got in return was escalating cruelty. Her heart, under the constant assault, had become numb, impenetrable. Ethan prided himself on his devotion, believing he was unswervingly faithful to Scarlett, yet he had never truly rejected anything Luna did for him. Over those years, Luna had seen right through him. He wasn't lacking love and companionship. He was inherently cold-hearted, selfish and cowardly, hypocritical and greedy. He simply wasn't worthy of anyone's love. Ethan stood under the sun, the glare making him feel dizzy. At this moment, he finally saw the real Luna. She wasn't the pitiful, prideless lapdog everyone thought she was. On the contrary, she was strong and clear-headed, gentle yet firm. It was just that Ethan Blackwood hadn't known how to cherish her. In the past 6 years, if he had possessed even a shred of conscience, he wouldn't be in this position today, with nothing to his name that could make her stay. It was too late for regrets. Ethan's hand fell limply to his side. After a long moment, he mumbled, "I'll change. Then get lost." With a face full of concern, Luna helped Leo to his feet, not sparing Ethan another glance. She wouldn't believe his empty words, and she wanted nothing more to do with him. She had waited so long for this day. All Luna wanted was for her life to get back on track, to continue her simple, happy life with Leo. Ethan reached out several times to stop them, but he couldn't bring himself to take that final step. He was afraid to see the coldness in her eyes again, afraid to hear those deafening words. He stared at her retreating back, watching as she and another man walked out of his sight into the sunlight. And then he made a silent vow. He would get her back. He had the wealth and power that could make any woman in the world swoon. If he just showed his determination, he believed that eventually Luna would be moved. Luna accompanied Leo back to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup. The results showed that all of Leo's physical indicators were healthy. He had just been in a coma for so long that his muscles had atrophied and would require gradual exercise to recover. Luna cried tears of joy, hugging and kissing Leo over and over. But Leo suddenly took Luna's hands, gently untied the silk scarf around her neck, and softly caressed the scar on her chest. Then he brought her hands to his face, repeatedly rubbing the calluses and the countless small scars on her palms. Tears streamed down his face. He pulled her into a tight embrace, his voice filled with heartache. "You foolish, foolish girl, why are you so foolish?" Having witnessed the earlier scene, even if Luna said nothing, Leo could guess what had happened. He knew this silly girl too well. Luna seemed gentle and weak, but she was always capable of the most dramatic acts for the sake of love. Luna rested her head on Leo's shoulder, letting go of all her defenses and revealing a tender, dependent side. It's all in the past now. What was past should be left in the past. After the bitterness comes the sweet. From now on, every day would be a good day. After a period of observation in the hospital, Leo was discharged smoothly. The sun was bright and the road ahead was brilliant. The two walked home hand in hand, stopping at a dessert shop on the way to buy a cake to celebrate. In the following weeks, Luna focused on helping Leo recover, ignoring everything happening outside. But in those few short days, her name had spread to every corner of the city. The words Luna Hayes were plastered on the giant screens in the public squares and on billboards along the roads. The streets and alleys were filled with gardenias. Priceless jewelry was delivered like a flowing river, only to be thrown out the door like trash. Grand and spectacular fireworks lit up the sky, night after night. The air itself was thick with a lingering, smoky scent. The world, both online and off, was in an uproar. Luna blocked one contact after another, but the overwhelming news still found its way to her. "Oh my God, it's like a novel come to life. Who is this Luna Hayes? She's so lucky. You don't know her. She's the fiancée of the CEO of Blackwood Corp. I heard she pursued him for 6 whole years. Then something happened, and she suddenly left. Now the CEO has had a change of heart and is on a long journey to win her back. It's so romantic. How can there be such a devoted man? Romantic and devoted." Luna felt as if she was reading the biggest joke in the world. She wondered if these people, who didn't know the truth, would still be so envious if they saw the scars all over her body. She paid no mind to these comments and continued to look up post-recovery care instructions online. As for Ethan, he had already bought the house directly across from Luna's. At this moment, he was standing at the window, shrouded in shadow, watching the blindingly happy scene across the way. He downed the wine in his glass, then lit a cigarette and sat down. He quietly watched Luna and Leo cook together, clean the house together, and cuddle on the sofa to watch TV. He had never experienced this kind of emotion, nor could he understand what it felt like. He couldn't help but imagine. If he were the one by Luna's side, he wouldn't let her do any of this. They had staff who could take care of them at any time. Whatever they wanted, they would only have to ask. They wouldn't have to lift a finger. As for cuddling up to watch TV, a faint smile began to form on Ethan's lips. That feeling, it must be quite nice. But soon, the burn of the cigarette on his fingertips brought him back to reality. The room was pitch black, with only the glowing tip of his cigarette providing a small point of light. A sudden wave of frustration washed over Ethan, and he slammed his fist into the glass in front of him. He had never had this kind of happiness, and he never would. Luna would never let her guard down like that with him, never rest her head peacefully on his shoulder. The cruel reality made Ethan's heart grow cold, inch by inch. He realized he didn't have the patience to wait any longer. He couldn't stand by calmly and watch Luna be happy and in love with another man. The feeling was like a knife twisting in his heart, driving him mad with frustration. He was unwilling to endure this torment any longer. He just wanted Luna by his side, right now, no matter what it took. Ethan's grand, public campaign to win her back was nearing its end. The gardenias in the streets began to wither, with no fresh flowers to replace them. The names on the big screens changed back to familiar advertisements, and even the online discussions slowly faded away. Luna felt as if the invisible hand that had been choking her had finally loosened its grip. The wounds on her body no longer throbbed painfully in her nightmares. She could finally go for walks in the park with Leo in the evenings. After this period of careful nursing, Leo had made a full recovery. When Luna got tired of walking, he would carry her on his back. When she was lost in thought, he would snatch her phone and playfully challenge her to chase him. Their laughter echoed through the bustling streets, just like any other young couple in love, just like it was 6 years ago. The time she spent by Ethan's side felt like a nightmare that was finally receding with time. One day, Luna and Leo went out grocery shopping, hand in hand. At a corner, a group of men rushed out, knocked Leo unconscious with a club, and pressed a damp cloth over Luna's mouth and nose, causing her to lose consciousness in an instant. When she woke up, Luna found herself lying in her own home, except there was a long shackle on her ankle. Confused, she watched as Ethan walked in with a bowl of noodles. "You're awake, you must be hungry. I made you some noodles, just the way you used to make them. I tried it, it tastes pretty good. I don't know if it's as good as yours, though." Ethan carefully placed the bowl in front of Luna, a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Luna's eyes, however, looked past Ethan to the window behind him. She immediately saw Leo, bound and gagged. The apartment across the street was her home. This was just a cage, a one-to-one replica built by Ethan. "Ethan Blackwood, what the hell are you trying to do? Why won't you just let me go?" Luna didn't spare Ethan a single glance, her eyes fixed on the distant figure of Leo, her heart aching for him. Ethan's face instantly darkened. He made a cold gesture towards the window. At his command, the bodyguards immediately began to beat Leo. "No, don't," she scrambled desperately towards the window. No matter what, she couldn't just stand by and watch Leo get hurt because of her again. But her leg was chained. She didn't get more than a few steps before she fell to the ground in a heap. Even so, she refused to give up, dragging herself forward, scraping her ankle raw and bloody, just to get closer to Leo. The bright red blood stained the white carpet, a shocking sight. Enough, Ethan knelt in front of Luna, grabbing her hands, his voice trembling. "You love him that much? Do you love him that much?" "Fine, Luna, as long as you agree to stay by my side, I'll let him go. Otherwise, his fate will be worse than Scarlett's. Since you pretended for 6 years, just keep pretending forever." He cupped her tear-streaked face, his own tears falling one by one. "I don't know how to love. No one has ever loved me, but I'm willing to learn for you. Luna, don't go. Stay by my side and teach me, please. I'm begging you." Ethan gently wiped the tears from Luna's face. The crystalline drops shattered silently against his fingertips. The light in Luna's beautiful eyes slowly faded until she looked like a hollow, soulless puppet. After a long time, she finally spoke, her voice hoarse. "Fine, I agree. As long as Leo was safe, as long as they could both live." Luna believed that time was long, and they would surely meet again one day. The love between her and Leo would not be diminished by misunderstandings, nor would it be washed away by time. When they met again, they would love each other even more than they did now. "As long as you promise never to hurt Leo, I will agree to anything." Ethan nodded, pulling Luna into his arms. He was smiling, but tears streamed down his face. But Luna had overestimated herself. She didn't have another 6 years to waste. She was too tired. For the next several days, Luna remained silent. She did whatever Ethan told her to do, without struggle, without resistance, her expression always placid and empty. Even when Ethan laid $1 billion fortune at her feet, she didn't so much as blink. Even when Ethan, in a fit of rage, wrapped his hands around her neck, she showed no reaction. He tried everything, wanting to rip his own heart out to show her, but nothing worked. Luna's heart was like dead ashes, completely exhausted. She couldn't even pretend anymore. She allowed herself to waste away, day by day. It was as if she had lost all attachment to everything. Ethan was in chaos. All his plans and schemes crumbled before the sight of Luna's life slipping away. To watch the woman he loved slowly die in front of him, the feeling was worse than being sliced to death. In just over a month, Ethan had transformed from the once dashing head of the Blackwood family into a haggard, tormented prisoner. The person he had trapped with all his might was not Luna, but himself. On a bright, sunny afternoon, Ethan unlocked the shackle on Luna's ankle. Go see the person you want to see. Live the life you want to live." Luna felt the long-missed sunlight and frowned. She didn't know what new game Ethan was playing. But when she saw he made no other move, she immediately stood up. Her legs, unused for so long, were unsteady, but Luna didn't care. She stumbled and ran down the stairs. She never once looked back. Ethan watched her desperate escape and let out a long sigh. In this lifetime, he would probably never learn how to love someone. Luna had taken his entire heart with her. After her ordeal, Luna ran all the way home. Only when she saw Leo did she finally relax and break down in convulsive sobs. Leo gently stroked her back. During this time, he had gone mad searching for her and had been beaten half to death. But he would never tell her these things. As long as they could be together, nothing else mattered. When Luna had calmed down, Leo took her hand. "You love the sea more than anything, don't you? Let's go see the sea. Let's see every beautiful ocean in the world. I'll be with you. We'll go together." Luna nodded through her tears, squeezing his hand tightly, unwilling to let go for even a second. After packing their bags, the two set off on their journey. They let the scenery along the way heal the wounds in their hearts. A year later, on a beach on the other side of the world, Luna saw a news report about Ethan. Blackwood Corp CEO Ethan Blackwood has died by suicide in his home at the age of 32. Cause of death is unknown. In the photo, Ethan was tightly clutching a pieced-together sheet of paper. No one else knew what it was, but Luna recognized it at a glance. It was their marriage contract from all those years ago. She had no idea how Ethan had found all the pieces and put them back together. "The wind is strong by the sea. Be careful not to catch a cold." Leo, beside her, took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She looked up at him and smiled, the news report instantly forgotten. Her eyes saw only the man beside her and the sea before them. "The sun is about to rise. The weather is so nice today. The sunrise over the sea must be beautiful." Leo smiled back. "It will be. As long as you are with the one you love, every view is the most beautiful."